Okay, everybody. Woohoo! Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Bridging Dimensions show. I am Marguerite Regal-Yozo of Seven Sisters Mystery School, and I'm so glad to have you with us, whether you are watching live or you are watching in replay. As you can see today, I am with the amazing Indigo Angel. She's a colleague, a sister priestess, a friend, a co-creatrix of teachings and so forth. And we are going to be teaching a 4-day workshop called Goddess Spirit Warrioress Bootcamp, February 1st through 4th, 2024, as we are filming this. And so what we're doing today here is just kind of a taster, like the intro to the intro of some of the things we're going to be covering, not all, because that Goddess Spirit Warrioress Bootcamp is covering a number of different areas. It's mainly dedicated to your psychic protection, your psychic confidence, your psychic self-defense in this time when we are awakening to spirit. We are moving into fifth dimensional consciousness, and we're having, experiences out in the world, and we are realizing that some of the things going on are not just normal human life. So we'll be talking more about that Goddess Spirit Warrioress Bootcamp as we go along. But I want to jump in here today because the piece that we're focusing on today has to do with matriarchy and the Amazons. Who were they, particularly in North Africa? Why do we care? These words, matriarchy and Amazons, are very triggering words. We've been led to think that they're fictional, or that they have to do with male bashing or trying to do away with men. And nothing could be further from the truth, especially when it comes to what matriarchy is. And that's what we're going to talk about, because this piece is a big underpinning of what Indigo and I are doing for the Goddess Spirit Warrioress Bootcamp. We are helping people, not just women, but men as well, to foster up your confident inner warrior spirit. And that is to some degree exemplified by our Amazon sisters and what they were all about at core. So first of all, as a lot of you know, Indigo Angel has been a long time now at this point, oracle, channeler, teacher, researcher of deeply, deeply esoteric material. Of late, she's been doing a lot of teaching around Gridwork, how we, as human citizens, can be clearing the grid lattices of our planet, in and around our planet, that have been, again, unfortunately been hijacked by some of these forces that we're all dealing with. And so she has trainings to help us clear that. She has trainings to help us clear our bodies of unwanted griddings, implants, and so forth. And that's also a piece she's going to be sharing in the Goddess Spirit Warrioress Bootcamp. So she and I have taught before. We've taught the Healing the Womb 3 a couple of years ago. And so we're back together. I was so honored when Indigo invited me to co-teach this bootcamp with her. So Indigo, let's just have you say hi for a few minutes before we kind of launch into some of what we want to share with everybody.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for that lovely introduction. And as we cultivate it through our goddess ship, I think I've used that before in one of the titles to one of our other videos. But yeah, that's kind of what we're building here, right? Is this goddess ship that I think is representing all the ways in which the divine feminine is rising into her empowerment. And I love that me and you get to kind of sit in a position where we're able to share our knowledge, share our wisdom, and share the codes that I think are going to help a lot of divine feminine with understanding where the rise of even equality has come from, and what kind of codes are transforming within us, within the mitochondrial mother cells, right? As these transformations take place, that this is the way of Earth to provide nature and nurture. And so much is going on. So much transformation is taking place. And I'm just excited that we get to hold the codes and be a pillar of light for others to get to understand this stuff at a deeper level.
Yeah, absolutely. And you and I are both about intuition and intellect working together. You know, we're both really intrepid researchers. Indigo was just in Algeria a couple of months ago. She's going to be talking about that, what she discovered about Amazons and matriarchy there. And she's been doing a lot of other boots on the ground work in various places to help us not only gather information, but clear what we don't need as the human family in these places, all the clogging that has happened. So we're going to be really talking as we go along with this conversation of why this is all relevant to us as spirit people, spirit workers, as inscending or ascending souls, what we need to empower ourselves along this way, especially as things ratchet up. Okay, statement. The last 4 years were in operation. And a lot of us have been aware of that. And a lot of us are like holding our breath, like, what's next? Well, that's why we need to be talking about all of this stuff, because we just want to prepare and educate ourselves for any potential what's next, so that we are not caught unawares the way we were. And so that we really have the tools to say no to a lot of this BS that gets promulgated as, truth, and it's all based in fear. All right. So this is all about building confidence as women and as a human family. What is it that we need? We need to get back into that healthy warrior spirit. So let's just start with matriarchy. Okay. What is it? Many people in my Seven Sisters community and beyond don't know this about me, because when I started Seven Sisters Mystery School in 2012, I had already had like a whole academic career. And one of the things that I was involved in was the matriarchal studies movement. If you can believe this. Yes, this is a whole academic collaboration that has gone on by a few key people, one of them being Heide Güttner Abendroth in Germany, to whom I really give a bow, because she's the one who has collected a lot of this information, a lot of these researchers, a lot of these people from matriarchies. Yes, there are living matriarchies as well as remnants of it. And she has helped us tease out and understand what matriarchy is. This is so critical to our next step, because matriarchy is not the reverse of patriarchy. The way we have patriarchy, which at least everybody now understands that word. 10 and 20 years ago, when I was into this, it was like this, egg-headed academic word. What the heck is patriarchy? Now we all kind of have a sense that it's ruled by the father, but not in a good way, the way it's come down to us. It's a real out of balance with the yang energy overpowering, dismissing, or even erasing the yin energy. And that's why, we have to restore all of this. So it's not patriarchy in a skirt. Okay. It's not a social structure in which women now dominate and abuse men. No. Okay. Modern matriarchies are societies of balance. They're societies of peace. Economic balance. They are egalitarian. They're not skewed with their power structure of power over. There's egalitarianism between genders and generations. And their politics are consensus based. So there's no rule by might and rule by force and one single leader. Everybody has to end up agreeing. So in the economics, they're more interested in quality than quantity. They're cellular, they're regional, they're not like pyramidal. They've got growth and communication and empowerment occurring through an expanding network. And they're sustainable in the true sense of the word because they live in peace and harmony with nature. And so they provide really good alternatives to the globalization that is threatening to destroy our world. These societies, and I'm going to name some of them very shortly, these societies, they lack hierarchy and violence against women and children. And they display a quality of mutual care and love. They're highly spiritually oriented, and they conceive the world as divine and even feminine in nature. Okay, so who are some of these contemporary matriarchies? Because there are ones from the past, but the ones that still exist today are like the Mosu of China, Mosuo. Look it up. The Minangkabau of Sumatra, the Minangkabau. The Tuareg and Berber of North Africa, which is where Indy and I are going to touch into today. The Akan of Ghana, also in North Africa. The Yuchitan people of Mexico, and others, okay? So India, places in India have had matriarchal structures. Kerala used to be, the province of Kerala used to be exclusively matriarchal. So these matriarchies, back in the early 2000s, I went to and spoke at these conferences and met some of these people who were from the matriarchies, and they were like, this is the best kind of society. The men love it and the women love it. Okay, for the men, it gives them it divests them of having to be the chief breadwinner, the big aggressive warrior, and all the pressure is on him. And also it takes away the pressure on couples to eternally stay together or go into economic peril, which is what happens with most of our divorce situations, right? So in matriarchy, the head of the house is like the mother or the grandmother, and she works with her brothers and her uncles. That's like the whole social setup. The husband is not even that big of a deal. He's in his own family with their matriarchy. He's contributing to his sister, his mother, So the lovers come together, and in like really strong matriarchy, it's visiting marriages where the men will sometimes come to the longhouse, like they live communally in a kind of a longhouse situation. And then he leaves, so they have a love relationship, and he may offer his seed to the woman to have her children, but then the children belong to her clan, her family. And no one is all worried about the paternity, the father, the role of the father, because the children, they have their uncles, they have their whole community. There's not any of this trauma that's based in the nuclear family structure, okay? These are just some of the tidbits of what matriarchy is all about that I learned. These are cultures of love. So, the name of the German researcher, and we are welcoming your comments and your questions in the chat. We would love to address them and answer them. Her name is Heide Gutne Abendroth. And here's one of the major books that came out of these conferences, Societies of Peace. And let's see if you can see her spelling. It's like Heidi with an E and Gutne Abendroth. And she also has two other major books called Matriarchal Societies. So if you look that up on Amazon, you can see her two major books translated into English, where it's the mother lode of what these societies are, who they are, where they are, and describing them. And a lot of that is in here as well. And it's totally and completely fascinating. This is our answer to a world in crisis in terms of how we want to structure our lives and what would make us happy. Okay. I always say that the nuclear family is akin to the nuclear bomb. Whenever you have nuclear, it's a flag, something's off. All right. So, Indigo, having heard all of that, let's just have you riff. And I know that at some point you're going to want to talk about the Amazons and Tin Hinan. But before we go into the Amazons, because I have a few things to say about that, what do you say in response to this? And how does this dovetail with what you've been researching?
Well, I first want to say thank you for explaining all that, because you have a way of like putting this bigger picture together for everybody. And also the book that you recommend, I would recommend everyone watching to get the books that Marguerite recommends, because you have such great resources. I feel like that can really help people to understand things.
Yeah.
To riff off of that, I want to say that I've been saying for a long time that we're kind of going through an archaic revival of the Lemurian timelines, and that everything that you just described, I mean, really this, I think, in a lot of ways originated from Lemuria.
Yeah.
I think the bulk of the tribes and the culture was matriarchy. And so this is kind of what descended down to the Atlantean timelines. This was the gift that has been given basically from these ancient ancestors. And so I do believe that we're going through a transformation on this earth, that we're all in this higher consciousness community aware that the divine feminine is rising,
Yes.
that this is a part of the ascension evolution process. And so I think that these regenerations, these recalibrations within people's consciousness and within their biofield, that it's originating from the original mother cells in our bodies. So we're all still technically connected to this, to the original mother, called the African Eve, basically.
Yes.
And so I think we get the upgrades here. This is where we're being initiated by the planetary's ascension process, as it's going straight to those mitochondrial mother cells, and we're getting activated, we're getting upgraded, and we're getting guided to be looking at this information and to be bringing it forward more and more. I think as women, we can feel our empowerment rising at this time, because we have such a beautiful and graceful way of leading our homes, leading our families, taking care of our, entire tribe, finances, all aspects of life. Women aren't the type that really complain. We don't, sit back and be like, oh, I have to do this and do that. No, we just like what needs to be done. We just see it and we do it and we act upon that. And it's a force within us that it's a duty. It's our duty to serve the extensions of our love and our heart and those that we care about. So whatever that requires, I think we take that on and we step forward with, again, grace and humility and humility within that. And so even though in today's society, like I was telling you before, we don't wear this cap that says matriarchy's the leaders, we're the ones doing it all, I think we feel it and we know it.
Yeah.
And it's a knowing that is carrying us at this time. And so now we're getting activated to speak about it more and more, and to bring these divine feminine empowerment codes more online within other women, as we're going to do in the Warrioress Spirit Bootcamp.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you know what? Okay, so as usual, you are so able to make these connections. Yes, I want to underline what you said. Matriarchy is the memory of Lemuria. It is the gift that has continued to exist from Lemuria. And that is how we used to live.
Yeah.
And that is how, as you're saying, the mitochondria of our DNA, those mother chromosomes or cells, I don't even fully understand, but there's part of the DNA that is direct from your mother, right? It's a whole biological thing. And it's also an energetic spiritual thing.
Yeah.
It resonates when we hear about matriarchy and these types of societies. This is what we remember going all the way back to, as you're saying, mitochondrial Eve.
Yeah.
And you know, our original seven mothers, okay, of the world, who could be the Pleiades as well, okay, because a lot of their DNA of these virgin master mothers is in us. And and they talk about the 7 daughters of Eve. Brian Sykes is a geneticist. The 7 daughters of Eve, that's a good one if you want your mitochondrial DNA plucked and you want to start getting into the intellectual side of understanding who we are and how Lemuria is still encoded within us, right? These are the ancestresses of humanity. And, where they came from, again, is another whole story.
Yeah.
But that's what we are connecting with here. So,
and just to riff off that a little bit, just to explain more, the mother codes in Lemuria, I think when we think about who the wisdom keepers were of Lemuria, I think those 13 crystal skulls and the mysteries around that, and what are those and what's encoded in those. I think it's all of the codes, all of the matriarchy codes, all of the spiritual knowledge, and that the grandmothers of Lemuria were the sacred wisdom keepers of that. It's even said to unlock that, you have to find a direct descendant to the original grandmother clans to unlock that crystal knowledge and bring it forward. So this, yes, it's very much a living crystal code that's inside us.
yes.
Yeah.
Amazing. We are welcoming comments. We are welcoming questions. As we proceed along, please write in chat. We want to know how is this resonating for you, right? Is it stimulating anything? And you were also talking about it's women's role now, to re-nurture our world and our planet. And I think that's why our evolutionary spiritual corridors are filled with women, right? Wherever you go into a group, 95% women, and because we are the ones who need to be leading back this Lemurian evolution, if you will. And so that's also why we're doing the Goddess Spirit Warrioress Bootcamp starting on Thursday on the 1st, because like you're saying, Indy, women are leading this charge. Okay. And it's not a charge of swords and violence, but it's that inner fortitude, that inner strength, that inner boundary setting, that right, because we have to be able to set strong boundaries toward the BS that we're experiencing all around us and even inside of us. It's kind of gotten inside of us. And we need to know how to do that. We need upgraded tools and techniques. And so the Goddess Spirit Warrior Camp is for anybody who's spiritual, who wants to get to the next level. All right. It's going to be all of this history that we're talking about, the Amazons in way more fascinating detail, and the psychic tooling training. And also I'm going to be talking about how the sacred family, the Christos Sophia, the Sophia Christos family, were warriors in this regard. They came in one incarnation 2,000 years ago, precisely because of these energies. They knew all about it, and they were giving us keys and codes, and practices to be able to manage it and throw off these shackles on planet Earth. And that's going to be one of the modules as well. So we've got some people are saying, oh, this is stimulating a lot. From the Zoo is saying, can you speak more about the role of the grandmother clans in unlocking the crystal knowledge? Any stories around this? And then Avalon Mikhail Serafai is saying, Mu consciousness is coming back strong with the incoming dragon year queendom return. Yes, the dragons are, I've been talking about this, are a huge part of this, especially the Sophia Christ and the Sophia Mary dragons. They are the ones who are kind of getting reinstalled here along with all of this. So yeah, can you speak more, Indy, about the role of the grandmother clans in unlocking the crystal knowledge? And then we'll launch into a little bit more about Amazons, okay?
It has something to do with Isla Mujeres. I know there's a goddess down there who carries a fish. There's a statue of her. I can't remember her name specifically because this is touching on some stuff that I haven't refreshed my memory with too well. But it said that that may be one of the locations where that information is kind of locked in the grid structures.
Wow.
Yeah.
And where exactly is Isla Mujeres or Isla de las Mujeres?
I believe it's down in the Yucatan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So,
wow.
So like direct Mayan descendants. Or,
wow.
Or Olmec, yeah.
You see, and they are said to be, one of the survivals of Lemuria, right? Right there. So we've got that energy. Okay, that is amazing. All right. So good. So let's just hop on over to the Amazons. Again, I'm going to be talking about this extensively in the Goddess Spirit Warrioress Bootcamp starting on Thursday. Because there are really two different groups of Amazons. The originals were from North Africa. What most researchers do not make the link to is the ones called the Thermodon Amazons, which are the ones from ancient Turkey, who became the Scythians and the Sarmatians. They infiltrated into those tribes. But those are really the travelers from Africa, the colonizers, the settlers. All right. And I'm going to show how you can trace that through the namings. Who were the two major goddesses associated with this? In Africa, Athena, but if we go back further, it's Neith. Okay. And Athena's name is even a cognate of Neith in a way. The great warrior goddess who was like this parthenogenetic goddess, the one before all, some think is, the oldest goddess in Egypt, right? And then up in the ancient Turkey region, Artemis. Okay. And both of these goddesses have warrior aspects. They both also have Virgin Mother aspects, which we're going to talk in the Goddess Spirit Warrior Bootcamp about their conception practices and how this was related to divine birth and so forth. And we're also going to go back into something that our dear sister Maya Nartumid has channeled from her master guide Thoth about the origins of the Amazons, going all the way back to the Grail lineages of the stars. But Amazons are an energy, a culture that arose from these ancient matriarchal cultures and priestesshoods when things got really rough under the influence of the negative forces to the planet that were invading and then calling themselves patriarchy. And they were just feeling the failure of the males to adequately protect the codes, the lineages, the information. And so they took up swords. Right or wrong, they took up swords. The thing is, it's hard to be in 3D and not end up taking that sword. You can do it, but they chose to take up the sword. And that ultimately, led to their vanquishment. And I'm going to talk about that in Africa. I'm going to talk about that in the Turkey region and Greece. But this is a little bit of background. These are not just like man-hating women. No, they have a whole big history that's underneath this that goes back to Atlantis and then probably back to Lemuria. And so here, I think, Indy, what do you think would be a good place to bring in your Algeria experiences and research, maybe even talking about Tin Hinan?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been such a journey. And as I told you before, that I wasn't expecting this journey to arise within me the way it has. I think I've always been someone that's been following the goddess, no matter which goddess it is. I'd love to research all goddesses and their stories and their impact on the world. But as I tuned into Goddess Teen Hinan, which is a very underrated and unknown goddess, like this
Unknown.
is uncommon. People don't really know this.
Okay, but the thing is, check this out, people. I knew about her. Okay. As just a white Western woman, of course, all the people in Algeria and North Africa know about her, So
and all
I'm
the
just
people in the
saying.
world that I know Marguerite, who knows
Okay.
Teen Hinan.
So I was like, what the heck? This woman is getting into Medusa. She's getting into the Amazon. She's getting into Tin Hinan. 2 words, Tinhinan. Now, sometimes it's all conglomerated together, but because I was fascinated by this years ago when I also went to Tunisia in search of the Libyan Amazons, Libya meaning like all of Africa or North Africa, years ago on a pilgrimage, a research trip. And I didn't go to Algeria, but I was aware of Tin Hinan, and I did all this research on the Berbers, who their real name is the Amazigh, the Amazigh. And we're going to talk about what Christine Nartumid says about the actual origin of that word in the Goddess Spirit Warrioress Bootcamp. So stay tuned. But just to underscore the amazingness of this, that like I tuned into this Tin Hinan, and now all of a sudden, Indy, who I already love, is going to Algeria. I'm like, oh my God. Okay.
Yeah, it was too
tell
perfect.
us more.
It was too perfect. So, well, as I tune into Teen Hinan and also Neith, because I think there is so much correlation between the both of them. They're both called the mother of us all. They both kind of originated with similar stories, similar areas and regions in North Africa. I just think that Teen Hinan's story has been under some sort of spiritual protection. Actually, I think there's something that's within the future timelines of where this will be honestly released more about who she is and what she did. And one of the reasons why it hasn't been released to the Western world, I think, is because of the French's colonization of Algeria as well. Yeah. The French are really some of the only ones that have written about her legacy and legend. But in Algeria, North Africa, if you talk to, the nomads and the tribal people that live there, I think it's something that they want to keep sacred. It's something that they really revere as they're very proud of this origin story. But so this ancient goddess is said to have been an Atlantean priestess who escaped the fall of Atlantis and reestablished civilization for the Berber and Tuareg and Amazigh tribes. And she, it was a really developed thing, as we went to her tomb and her gravesite, and, the people there were speaking about her, they were saying yes, she actually established classes. She actually established societal structures and a way of functioning and a way of governing for these people. And so I didn't realize when I was going there and coming into this, I'm thinking, oh, I'm following this goddess. I actually thought I was following a love story, to be honest with you. I find out, whoa, this is completely about matriarchy. Okay, this is 100% about how a woman established all of this for these people. And so, yeah, they very much revere her. And even to this day, in these smaller tribal communities, the woman is the leader. The woman is the jewel of the home. And what she says goes. I mean, that's how the men feel. Even though women in that country may not be in political leader positions, it's very well known that the woman is the ruler of the home, is the woman that's the ruler of the heart, the woman is the ruler of the finances, the woman rules everything basically. And so it was very fascinating, and it was very uplifting for me to receive those land codes, because that's how I get activated by the grids. One of the symbol codes that kept coming forward for both Neith and Teen Hinan was the Ankh with 2 crossed spears going through it. So the bow and arrow. And so that was a very symbolic and deeply activating symbol code that I think is the crest that upholds the frequency of the re-rise of matriarchy, and I'm really just going to ride that current and kind of stick with that. But
Yes.
but yeah, it's truly fascinating. One thing that they said about her, or one thing that I think some of the negatives that people like to depict about Amazon and matriarchal leaders of that time and back in the day was that they were, lice eating, head hunting, polyandry, and cannibalism. I don't know about the lice eating, head hunting, and cannibalism, but one thing that I did find to be true about Teen Hinan was that she was, in fact, polygamous. She had multiple husbands. They said that maybe she had 8 to 9 to 10 different husbands. Could you imagine being a woman in that power, commanding society and taking whatever husband you wanted or needed? And, it's fascinating to me, but it said that amongst those tribes that, this is something that they don't want people to know about. It's very controversial. If you were to even try to publish any sort of, literature speaking about the polyandry and polygamous aspect of matriarchy and, Teen Hinan, that you're going to basically be getting spiritually attacked to bring that forward, because people don't want that to get out. And that comes with the control of religion, basically.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay, so are you going to be talking more about Teen Hinan in the Goddess Spirit Warrioress Bootcamp that
Yes.
starts
Oh,
Thursday?
yes, absolutely. I am. It's a part of the fabric that I think weaves this whole piece together. I think you're bringing the foundational knowledge, which I'm going to be learning so much from you, because there's so it's just amazing how much you know about this. But I think I'm tying in the mystery box piece.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is fantastic. So let's talk a little bit more about Teen Hinan. And by the way, Indy did a beautiful video art piece visiting the grave of Teen Hinan there in the desert. The bones have been moved to the museum, but the mound where she was interred is there. And apparently she was incredibly tall, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is like an old stock human, back in the day when we were more tall. And a lot of these women warriors, their tombs are found and they're tall. They're really tall.
Yeah.
So her bones, were found, and her grave with all of her accoutrements and everything. And you were there. You dressed in these beautiful tribal outfits, and you did this incredible poem to Teen Hinan from the heart that is the basis of that beautifully filmed and edited piece, which is called what? Is it just Teen Hinan, or people can find it on your YouTube channel, Indigo Angel?
Yeah, they can. It was a video I just recently posted, but the strength of matriarchy and the re-rise of matriarchy. And yeah, I did a couple poetic pieces in that, and
So
it just elevates your heart when you watch it. It expands your heart.
It does. And it gives you permission, because I would always be so emotional with this research. And I would not even know exactly what to do with that emotion, but to put it into artistry like that is so amazing, just for us to honor this woman and these women. I mean, I have to think that they are feeling your honoring, that they're coming back out of their stasis or slumber when they heal and hear and feel people like you calling them or touching their sacred places and so forth. There's a few comments here that are really wonderful. Christine is asking, were there hierarchical classes or were they collective? Well, the way matriarchies work is they work in harmony together. So there can be specific male roles and there can be specific female roles. But let's say, like in some Native American cultures, even if the men seem to be at the head of the politics or the warriorhood, it's the grandmothers who choose them and fire them if they're not doing a good job. So you see how it's different. It looks different than it puzzle pieces together in a really beautiful way. So I don't know if that expresses it. We're having Fonduco is saying, yes, just in time. Avalon is saying, same in Mexico, which is not the case in the rest of South America. She was referring to something we were talking about. A goddess with power and sexual freedom still disturbs nowadays.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So there's another thing. Lynn is saying so many factors that make you too vital. You are graceful, gracious models of feminine power. Excellent research, pathways and tools to create the new earth, and your call and invitation to people. Lynn, thank you so much. That's
Thank
really
you.
amazing. You know, Indigo and I, as we discussed, it's a lifestyle. It's not that easy. It might look glamorous or whatever, but wow, you know,
yeah,
we're doing some hard work, some heavy lifting, because it's just our calling. You know, it's our joy. But there's a mission here. So what else did you experience about? Because Tin Hinan is this ancestress of the Berber people, what have come to be called Berber, but really are called Amazigh, or they have other cultural names like the Tuareg or the Kabyle people. Malika Grosshoff has done a beautiful couple of books that are in English about the women of Kabylia and their symbolism. They are the weavers. They have these symbols that they put in tattoos and that are all encoding what Indy is talking about. They're triangles, they're shields, they're, you know, all these kinds of things that evoke those ancient memories, those power things, pre-Islamic. Okay, of course, right? Somehow these things have survived, you know, the Abrahamic traditions. So what else did you find out about in Algeria, either about the people or about Tin Hinan? What else would you like to say about this?
Well, I do believe, and this is just going off my intuition, that the Berbers and the Amazigh, I think, are the true, you know, ancient Atlantean bloodlines.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that they are still here today. When people say, you know, Atlantis doesn't exist anymore, no, it's here.
Right.
It's now. It's
That's
just
like the Mayans don't exist anymore, you know.
yeah.
It's like, okay, yeah, exactly. And I would add to that, here's a whole thing, and I mentioned this a bit earlier, the Akan people of Ghana. I have a strong feeling that's another place where they are holding the mother load. Because when you look back into their Niame, their goddess Niame, and the women are the leaders, they have the stool. You know, this is a sign of their power. If you start digging in, I have a couple of really intense books about the Akan of Ghana. Holy cow, you know.
Wow.
So all these North African and I think going into Africa cultures, right? This is where the Queen of Sheba came from, you know, and then we go to the possible quote unquote origin place of humanity is nestled in Africa, right? So there's so much there, you know, of course, ancient Egypt or Kemet and these other ancient cultures, you know, that have many different names. We have Suede is saying the most Amazigh people have HR negative blood, like my family. This blood type is connected to Mary Magdalene. Ooh, wow. Okay. You know, like these markers can be all in our blood, in our DNA, right? But yes, keep going, Indy, because I feel like I just had paused you.
Yeah. Well, I was going to maybe swing in a little different direction. I mean, he brought up Mary Magdalene. And this kind of just wanted me to touch on the stolen Cathar coding. Because, I mean, even as you were speaking about, like, there was a fall to the Amazons. Then there's like this myth and legend. There's a lot of negativity of, I think, trying to oppress or suppress the rise of, you know, the Amazons' power and, you know, the underlying stuff that gets said, like they were man eaters and, you know, they did all this crazy stuff. there was like a takeover that started to happen.
Yeah.
And I think this really came through at the time of Atlantis, where we had, draconic energy and reptilian energy. I think that has gone in to tamper information in the arcing codes, which is the parental lines, like the mother and father arcing lines. And so I think what's happened during this time is that they've kind of distorted the mother energy, and they placed implants in her womb, one in which is the fleur-de-lis implant. And it's basically, they placed it in the womb of the mother, into the seed of the mother. And it's like they're taking her creative power, they're taking her ovum out, and they replicate the coding, which in today you see is done in all kinds of sorts of ways, with womb hacking and fracking and all the ways that they tamper with creation and incarnation. But basically, this is one of the things that is a key part in the implant, the Lemurian implant regression and seal removal that I do, is to help people, or help women, uninstall the fleur-de-lis implant, which basically like superimposes over the structures of the womb and actually works like a clamp. That limits, women from bringing in fifth dimensional souls and being able to really tap into their own creative energies. So throughout history, I think that there's been so much that's been done. And again, this is something that I think in the boot camp that we're doing, we're going to really kind of untangle the oppression tactics and suppression tactics that have come over women in terms of our reproductive and our sexuality, our womanhood, our motherhood, to also, again, bring back that divine feminine empowerment so women can kind of be freed of their female crucifixion and their female enslavement.
That is important. And so this is the Goddess Spirit Warrioress Bootcamp, February 1st through 4th, 2024, coming up. There's a link at the top of the chat and in the show notes for registering. And we warmly welcome you. This is open to everyone, men and women. And so, Indy, riffing off of that, so what else are you going to be covering in the psychic defense training skill portions of this?
Well, in my main teaching, I really want to, and yes, this is for men and women, but as long as men know that attend, that I will be kind of speaking to the femininity, so speaking to the goddess. So if this in a way helps the masculine with repairing his own feminine codes, but my dialect will be kind of geared towards that. I'm going to really be focusing on empowering the divine feminine. Like, it's all about that. It's all about helping them to purify, to recognize their inner strength. I'm really going to be focusing on the perspective and the mindset that we carry, and just really speaking to the soul burdens of the divine feminine, and help to alleviate the spirit body and the soul body, empower the soul body, upgrade the soul body. How do we do those things? We're going to talk about all of that. I do have kind of a master homework assignment where we're going to actually build the inner warrioress light body field. I'm going to kind of give some examples of all of these goddesses in history, the sacred relics and tools that they carry. You'll notice if you look at pictures of Artemis, and you look at pictures of Athena, and you look at pictures of Medusa, they're all carrying honorable artifacts. They're all carrying things that, make them who they are. And so we're going to work on kind of installing those things in our fields, similarly to, if we did implant removal, like, yeah, that's an important part of the process. But this is, we can remove the negative, and then we can install reinforcements that can act as spiritual armors to help us, navigate the treacherous battlefield, interdimensional warfare that happens and takes place. And we can, would you walk into a battlefield without having armor? Without knowing what your shields look like, and developing and creating and crafting your own shields? No. So we're going to do that. We're going to build those shields. And I'm going to provide all kinds of different things that people can choose from, and the meanings. And of course, I want people to be creative on their own as well, and design stuff. But I feel like it's going to be some work. It's going to be a project, but I think it's going to be ultimately very uplifting and empowering for the holographic and for the light body. I think another thing that I'm going to do is also go through a little process of identifying what your weaknesses are. It's really important to know what those are. You know, where in your field are you weak? Do you have rips or tears in your light body field? Is your magnetic field weak? Is your electrical field ungrounded? Do you have severe ascension and disabling symptoms? You know, how's your physical health? All of these things. Like, we have to take a self checklist of, you know, what's, you know, and being real with yourself. What are you really dealing with? And then we're going to install things in the field to help also rehabilitate, repair, and upgrade those parts of the field that need some extra assistance as well.
Wow, that is amazing. Yes. These inner shieldings, these inner relics, these inner vibrational light tools and so forth, because the point here is to provide everybody who's raising their vibration with a feeling of safety now and freedom from fear in being and working as an awakening soul, you know, not getting into that taboo feeling of like, uh-oh, I've said too much. I think too much. I had that thought and I'm seeing what's going on. And now I'm scared that I've even had that thought. Okay, those are all just programs that are out in there to make you feel scared, but you're going to have like a confidence and a freedom as a result of this Goddess Spirit Warrioress Bootcamp that is so important, so that you can, you know, move forward into the world with your spiritual signature with more grace and fun and ease. And you know, it's for people who are from all walks of life, whether you are a mom, you know, a worker in a store, or an energy healer, right? If you are awakening, if you are intuiting that things are kind of awry, and maybe if you've even experienced some things that you know are not good, then this is going to be very empowering for you. And you don't have to be present for all the modules live. You can, they're all going to be in replay. You can pop in and out because it's 4 days. You know, not everybody can set aside 4 days to come be with us. But
they're also going to be downloadable and have lifetime access as well.
Yeah, excellent. All right.
Marguerite, do you want to speak to, you know, maybe a little bit of what you're doing as well, like with the empowerment piece?
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, providing this, the putting together the puzzle pieces from the history of the Amazons, all while opening into my own fifth dimensional consciousness, because a lot is going to pour through when I'm giving these presentations about who they were, who they are, who we are, and who the warrior shall be. It's really fascinating to go back and look at these place names, these locations, these pieces of evidence about all this. And then, like I said, go back even further than what's in these records of broken columns and, you know, remnants of symbols and place names and people names and all that. Going back to the Grail lineages that these are all connected with, ultimately to the stars. So a lot happens in these presentations that is more than we can even know now or even talk about. And then I'm also going to be going into the Christ Sophia tools and understandings, because it's really all related. When you go back far enough within the Amazons to the Grail lineages, you meet up with the Christos Sophia and, you know, everything else that Indy is talking about too. And so I will be bringing in some tools, visualizations, not the least of which is prayer and love. Right. Okay. But, you know, love alone is not enough sometimes. You have to have chutzpah. Okay. So,
Christine Garv has a question.
Great. I was just going to look. Yeah. I don't see this on the Seven Sisters site. Where is this located again? Okay. So if you go to, let's see here, I think I might have it. The link is up in the comments above, and it's in the show notes. It's actually being hosted by Indigo Angel. So here's the link that I'm putting in chat right now.
And you can find it also at learn.indigoangel222.com, and the Goddess Warrioress Spirit Bootcamp. It's on that page. It's the first page, so you'll see it right away.
Yeah, yeah, and we will put it on our homepage too. Let's see, Fonduco, make matriarchy great again. That's right. Hilarious. Okay, we need that bumper sticker.
Yeah.
Nervous system, Jen is saying nervous system works a crucial step too to rebalance. Yes, because all of this psychic, quote unquote, shenanigans directly go into our nervous system. Did you want to say anything about that? Because your show with Sethicus really went into like how, not to make anyone afraid, but just how it's, because basically we've all been living the trauma.
Yes.
Look at your lifetime, look at your childhood. You've been living it. So don't worry about getting psychic attacked. You already have been, or you wouldn't have had all of this nightmare going on in your life. Okay. It is not the human condition. It is the function of all of these interweaving attack energies that have been going on into the human family in all aspects of our body, mind, spirit, and then interculturally, cross-culturally, transgenerational. Indy, let's have you speak about that.
Yeah. Well, I think it's the reality in which we have to accept. And I say that because I have a lot of people that come to me and their focus is, you know, I'm miserable. I'm getting attacked all the time. Some people have, you know, really extensive stories for how long they've been being attacked, how difficult every year is, how they can't get ahead. You know, just a lot of people really living within the dissension timelines, within the lower density warfare, the lower astral as a regular. And so I think the reality is that to understand all of these dimensions and warfare tactics and entities and imposter spirits and negative alien tech and torture devices, this is all simultaneous. It's all now. It's all the time. And like you just said, it's about really kind of embracing the reality for what it is. Embrace it for what it's showing you. If it's showing you that you're being attacked all the time, okay, it's time to step out of victim mode. It's time to embrace what the reality is. It's time to rise up into those challenges. Okay, they're here to make us stronger.
That's right. Yeah. Okay, let me just say, all of this is conspiring to initiate you into fifth dimensional consciousness. So these negative forces, as much as it is their agenda just to get energy and food by our misery, they know they're taking a risk by doing that, by pushing us against the wall, by making us go through the sieve, that we will awaken. Every negative thing they do, they know they're taking a risk because we're in duality, that we will awaken because of it. So these negative forces, you know, and I talk about this. There's a free course that I give as part of this Goddess Spirit Warrioress Bootcamp. You get it as a bonus. It's called Protection for Spirit Workers and Awakening Souls. And I talk a bit about it there, but I'm going to say it even more now and in the bootcamp. These negative forces are our primary means of initiating now. It is not about sitting around singing Kumbaya, being in love and light, genuflecting at the pew in the church and going, I'm all loving, you know, Mother Mary, I'm just going to be loving. Well, Mother Mary was an exorcist, and that's what I'm going to be talking about. Mary Magdalene, the first medicine ceremony that I did with mushrooms ever. What did I see and know? I was like, holy crap, Mary Magdalene knew about these negative realms. And my teacher who I was with said, yes, she did.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, holy gosh. I mean, it was like this full on knowing, right?
Yeah.
Jesus, 40 days in the desert is like child's play compared to the whole entire thing that he had to go through, including the crucifixion. See, I have been going into the Nag Hammadi texts and the Gnostic so-called gospels, and some of that's going to come into here, but I'm also going to be giving some free stuff later. They knew all about this. This is why this sacred family, headed by Mother Mary and her grandmother Anne, brought the whole retinue onto the planet.
Yeah.
This is why the very things that Indigo and I are talking about, pointing out that you all have been experiencing in the nightmares of your lives. Now, it hasn't all been bad, of course, but you know, we want to restore Eden. We want to restore Lemuria. We want to restore the new earth. Going through these initiations and facing these things with courage, which is easier to do when we have sister and brotherhood together,
Yes,
and courses like this, is why and what we need to do to get to the next level of why the whole Sophia Christ family came here, which is to really throw off these shackles, to see what is exactly going on, and to initiate through it, through these strengthenings and these boundaries that we're setting, because we're all just at the behest of all this. Because when you don't know that there's a problem, when you don't know how to name it, you can't claim the answer. And that's why it's all been shielded from us. It's all been veiled from us. You need to be able to know it and speak it. And that's why, Indy, you're so great, because you come in and you speak these concepts and it's like, oh, right, truth. Like I always knew that, you know, but yet why didn't I have the word? Well, because you're the one bringing in the word, you know, and others are bringing in other things. Many other people in the course, you're all spirit workers. You all have pieces of the puzzle. Okay.
Well, this is a part of our identity. We are warriors. We are that. And it's okay to embrace it. You know, as we wanted to put the emphasis on nonviolence, of course.
Yeah.
But we need to embrace our ability to kick butt in these realms.
That's
you know,
right.
It's the only way to get up there and maintain it.
And you know what? One thing we're going to do, Indy, in the last, my module on the Amazon of ancient Turkey, we're going to do a grieving and healing ritual around this whole thing, because how much sadness do we all have? Yeah. I mean, to me, that my whole research was based in grief. Like, what the heck? Yeah. You know, what went on? These Amazons, they were vanquished. They marched on Greece. I mean, I could just cry right now thinking about this march on Greece and them getting slaughtered.
Yeah. It reminds me of one, I guess, famous, and you probably know about her, but Queen Penthesilea.
Yeah.
Penthesilea, she fought in the Trojan War against Achilles, and I guess Achilles took her out. But they said that after that happened, like all the soldiers like came around her and like mourned, and they were secretly wishing that their wives were this honorable, like that, you know, there was all this respect for her. That's right.
And we're going to look at these names, including Medusa. This is a perfect way and time to bring in Medusa. Okay. She, again, was not a fictional character. She was an African warrior, priestess, queen, parthenogenetic birther, going way back in service to and with Neith Athena, the leader of the Gorgon tribe. And again, a horrific story that, Indigo, you keyed into, and I keyed into 15 years ago or so, whatever it was. I had all these people in Italy do a Medusa reheading ceremony. 14 cities did this thing.
And because of what you did, I then went to Rome and did a Medusa head reattachment assignment art piece depicting this and depicting her healing process and the journey of salvation and redemption. And so all of that connected and inspired through me connecting with you. So everyone who joins this sacred divine feminine empowerment container is going to be weaved into our journey and our story of this as well, which is putting out some pretty amazing stuff, honestly. And yeah,
it is. And who knows what you're going to come up with, everybody, you know, and that's the point. We need a lot of these worker bees, and yes, the bees, you know, and worker queens going out there.
Yes.
Queen bees.
Yep. Well, yeah, it's important we empower the spiritual leaders. And right now, when we talk about, you know, all of the, it's the women that show up in these groups. It's the women. I mean, there's a few men here and there, but it's women who are really rising into these spiritual leadership roles. And so we want to be the dragon spine. That's basically that supports them and weaves this network together. Because going back to the Pleiadians, and when I talk about the Lemurian revival and even the implant, divine feminine implant system, removal system that I designed, was all really brought to me through the wisdom of the Pleiadians. They let me know that they were the weavers. They let me know that they actually held a cosmic sistren fabric network that exists in the universe, that all women, men too, they can tune into this cosmic network. And that what it does when they tune into that, it downloads them with all of the strength of all of the women all over the world. Every burden that the woman has carried is alleviated when we tap into this healing fabric, because it's shared amongst all women of the world. And it's a way of knowing that we're not alone. We're not alone in any of this. And we have cosmic reinforcement. We have cosmic support.
That's right. That's right. And by the way, the Pleiades are the seven mothers of the world. They are the virgin mothers who seeded large portions of humanity. Basically, almost every human has Pleiadian DNA because of these seven virgin mothers. That whole story I've been talking about for years, and they taught me as well, Indy. So like, we're all receiving these same messages in different packaged foils, you know.
The Pleiadians brought in the 24th chromosome of the DNA during the time of the Lemurian seeding. And I'm wondering if that 24th chromosome is the mitochondria mother cell. I wonder. I wonder. I'm just going to throw that out there for people to ponder.
So, you know, I'm putting it out here, and I mentioned this to you. I think it would be really cool at some point for me to be in ceremony with Lady Cannabis talking to you, so that, you know,
now that would be amazing. That would be something we'd have to invite everyone to come along on that journey.
The lid is going to blow off. Okay. I mean, because I want to look at that very thing. Like, okay, in cannabis, what would it say? I mean, I'll try to, you know, I try to get into it now. Like a lot of what you're saying, it's just, and hopefully everybody watching, you know, you're getting your initiations too, just by hearing this. You see, like whenever someone speaks a code, you awaken, and then you go do your own whole thing over here, and then you awaken all these other people, and that's how it's working. And you're going to who knows what country, so that 10 years down the road, someone else is going to come in there and get the next installment of it. And we can all move this thing along.
And me and Marguerite both have been initiated with codes to initiate other priestesses. We carry the codes, we carry the wisdom and the knowledge and the ability to activate that within the goddess. So I think that's also going to be a focus. And that's one of the things we also did in the womb healing course that we taught with Z. And so that was such a powerful course. I still have Divine Feminine coming to me a whole year later saying that was one of the most powerful things I've ever attended.
Exactly. Because when we all kind of gather together with certain people who've gone through a lot of our own hell, like Indy and I have, and, you know, we can bring our hell in service to you, and you can bring your hell in service to other people, you know. It just becomes kind of exponential, because we need to move it quickly now. That's why this Goddess Spirit Warrioress Bootcamp is going to be exponential. without you having to do a whole heck of a lot of work. You know what I mean? Like, yes, you will, but it's already kind of a little bit ready-made for you. There's other things that you're then going to have to do, or that you probably already have done to even get there.
Yeah.
And
that's what me and you were even saying a minute ago, was this is something that I think me and you could teach with our hands folded and be blindfolded, because we are
without any
channeling from our heart and our soul. Like, this is straight divine transmission.
Yeah. And that used to happen a lot, which is why, like, academia is just totally radio silent on my work, because they're like, well, we can't really refute it, but we don't know really what to do with it.
You're like a Graham Hancock at this point.
Yeah, you know, right?
Oh my God.
Fonduco is asking, how will we apply these goddess archetypes into our own practices? So we'll get to that in a minute. And then Funny Man is asking about Lady Cannabis. Does it help balance out and cleanse, or is it more for downloading info? For me, because of how I have learned from the beginning to work with it in exclusively a ceremonial way, which is something I've been teaching others through my Sacred Feminine Plant Medicine Academy, it is downloading info for me. Mm-hmm. Should I want to ask, I could have, say, Lady Cannabis, would you work in harmony with me to bring in whatever information is needed for me to balance or for me to cleanse? Okay, you can have different intentions in your ceremony. That's a whole other conversation that some people who are watching now, I can see, we're in the Sacred Feminine Plant Medicine Academy and they're developing mastery. But let's talk about, because the Sacred Feminine plants are an ally if used properly, with respect, with integrity, with knowledge, and yes, with safety. So I had to go through years of like, what's going on, you know, to try to set up my safe space and zone in ceremony for these downloads to happen. So that, again, is, you know, something that you'll benefit from, these tools that you're learning from the class, the Goddess Spirit Warrioress Bootcamp. So how will we apply these goddess archetypes into our own practices? Is something coming to you immediately? Because I'll have to take a minute on that.
I think it's different for every single person. For some, it is to draw inspiration. For some, it is to embody their codes, their wisdom, their story, their struggles, their strife. A lot of times when we're aligning with a goddess, whatever goddess it is, it's because there's something there for you to learn. There's something there that they're coming in to assist with. There's something also synchronistic about your life path and your journey that's aligning with what theirs was. Because yes. I really think that a lot of these goddesses aren't like mythical, like even like Goddess Kali and Lakshmi. Like at one point, I think they were an actual, you know, a goddess that walked the earth.
That's right. And here's one of the things I learned in medicine, and also just through my intuition, through this research. They have their histories and stories and experiences, like Indy is saying. It's not all fun and games, okay? Mm-hmm. Because Athena, one of the biggest things that happened to her is her mother, Metis, got swallowed by an Anunnaki reptilian who tried to hijack her birthing function and make her come out of him parthenogenetically.
Forced breeder programs.
Forced breeder programs. And Athena was born in that way. She was hijacked to serve the Greek state and their warriorhood. So in one of my Divine Birth Mystery Teachings courses, I had us all do a ritual for everybody to take the mesh off of Athena, of this Anunnaki, Zeusian body. And we literally had an effigy of her and took it off. So like, there's not only things that you can get from these goddesses, but there's, or what we call masters, neters, beings, you know, ascended masters, whoever they are, there's things you can do with them to support their healing, like that. Because it's a two-way street, right? Reattaching Medusa's head. Mm-hmm. Removing the mesh of Zeus from Athena's body. Yeah. And these things are still going on, right? So how you're going to apply these goddess archetypes Fonduko, like Indy is saying, is it's depending on how you are inspired when you hear the material. There'll be some built-in stuff for you to do, but some of it is going to be happening within you, and some of it you're going to take and later do stuff. Okay. So, but you're going to be given enough information to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And for my journey, I feel like these goddesses literally just come and knock on my front door and are like, listen to my story and decode it and tell it to the world.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's aligned with my mission. It's aligned with my soul purpose.
They want their stories told.
Yeah,
they want their true stories told. They want to take off all this false thing. Like the Greek drama writers had Athena saying, I am only for the father. There's basically no mother even. What the heck? Like that is the complete hijacking of the feminine, of her, of Neith, of the womb. And then these are the memes that get put forth into ancient Greece and then into our world. Like, oh, Athena is just this like male bonded, father bonded warrior. Mm-hmm. Well, no, let's peel all that stuff off so that we can peel it off of our own grids. That's the point here, right? This is not just history for the sake of history, like, oh, that's interesting. It's all activating for you. Okay. We're hearing comments. Sheila, I can feel part of myself standing in awareness right now. Yeah, you know, you will just pop open when you start hearing these things. I mean, I feel that way with Indigo's stuff, and she feels that way with me. You know, there are other sacred sisters I feel that way too, like Z Earthstar and Lisa Renee and you know, Elizabeth April. I mean, so many.
Madame Blavatsky, even.
Madame Blavatsky back in the day, you know, before she was like unceremoniously done away with. So Vanessa is asking, can you speak more on Medusa? Let's do that as like our final piece here, shall we? Because I know you had some personal experiences. You also did an art piece about Medusa, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want to say a little bit more?
Yeah, it was one of my best pieces I've ever done. It's basically a movie. It's about a 20-minute movie, actually. Yeah. And oh my gosh, I have to tell you, because I had some time to reflect back on it recently, to get some of those shots and clips, like that's not stock photo. That's not stock video. When you watch that, we were on location. We had a drone. We actually took a drone into the Vatican. You're not supposed to do that. I did a lot of no-nos.
You heard it here.
To make that, yes.
But they didn't get her on that. They got her on the angel wings. All right.
Oh, yeah. I was targeted by the Italian policia. But you know, some of it, we got up at 2-3 o'clock in the morning and pouring rain to get to some of those places to film where we wouldn't be, you know, disturbed really, right. And had to be fast. But it was kind of an exhilarating experience. But Rome was the perfect place to film that because how much beheading of the goddess is there. So Medusa's story is about decapitation.
Yeah. And you started talking about all these decapitations. When I first heard about you a couple of years ago, I'm like, she's right. Again, it was like, truth. That's right. All these women with their decapitations and these queens of England with their bizarre collars, and that's a decapitation.
What is the main way that you were publicly executed if you were a witch? Okay, for one, you were burned, but you were also hung and you were also chopped off right at the neck. Okay, this was like the three main ways that they liked to humiliate you.
The Holy Trinity of hell. And we all remember that on some level, right? And I mean, this is really extraordinary. And you know, the benefit at night was the cannoli. All right, the cream puffs and all that.
Oh my gosh, the cream puffs.
You know, in exchange for all that work, at least she got to eat her pasta and whatnot over there. Because what else is Rome good for? Okay.
They got some really good cream puffs.
You got some good cream puffs.
That was the highlight of the trip.
Yeah. And so you were working with Medusa in personal ways, as was I when I went into Italy. And then again, in the Goddess Spirit Warrioress Bootcamp, I am going to talk about all the details that I know about Medusa, how she was related to the Amazons, what happened to her, that beheading, and what we are healing from today with all that, as well as her mastery of the sacred womb, sacred parthenogenesis that unfortunately got hijacked through that rape by Poseidon. Okay. Not to trigger anyone into anything, but
and these come through the fleur-de-lis implant and codes as well, because the fleur-de-lis holds the rape codes, actually. One of the ways that they did it when I was in Italy, I was in the Gardens of Tivoli in one of the cardinal's mansions, which was a fertility sacred site where they kept virgins. But there was a lot of rape that happened there. And what is plastered all along those buildings? Fleur-de-lis symbols and implants all over the place. It's insane. I could not believe that it was manifesting in my physical reality to actually see it in the physical.
Yeah, a confirmation of everything you know. Yes, the young oracle girls at Delphi were raped. That's why they changed the age requirement from 12-ish to past 50. Okay, it took a lot of effort for some of those men who didn't like what was going on to change that age requirement. Okay, they don't change it just because one girl got raped. So this has been going on back to the Watchers, to humanity, with that inbreeding program that we hear in the Bible. Okay, crazy stuff that she and I have been talking about for some time, and that's why we're doing this Goddess Spirit Warrioress Bootcamp. Reason 72 of why we're doing it. A couple of other comments and questions here. Christine is saying, makes me think of the tribe of African women who would have metal rings stacked to raise their heads, and if removed, they would die from swinging heads. And here's the thing. Yes, like clitoridectomy. I'm personally not going to accept that as a cultural benefit that we just need to be like, not say anything about. We need to speak out about these heinous situations. Yeah, it's just like they took the necklace. They took the necklace, which is an adornment of the chest, the throat chakra, the heart, and then they started stacking it up and like choking the woman. Like, this is how they reverse out these beautiful things. Like, it was probably a necklace that represented wealth, which, by the way, talk about the Tuareg, and I'm going to show some symbols. They carry all of these silver adornments, pendants, and so forth. I'm wearing, earrings. They are imbued with these ancient codes and these ancient symbols, and they stack these necklaces one after the other. They have earrings and rings, and that's the wealth. They are walking bank accounts.
I do also think I want to go back to Medusa too, if I can tie this in, because I just feel like I'm going to forget this part there, because you're talking about the neck. There's something within the goddess, the blood of her neck that heals. And I think this was also something, when you see Kali, she's chopping, I think she's chopping her head off, or whose head is she chopping off? Put it in the comments if you know. But with Medusa, they say that I think they wanted the blood of her neck because it had powers. And this is another reason why they actually keep her head. It's said that underneath the Vatican, which they stole the name Vatican from the goddess Vatica. Vatica is supposed to be a sleeping feminine dragon. Well, it said they keep Medusa's head to basically keep her at bay. It's multi-layered forms of oppressing the goddess's energy, but the head itself is said to be actually kept under, like the actual head. I didn't see the actual head. I saw a statue of her head that was taken off when I was there in the museum. But it said, like, in the grottos and in the vaults of the Vatican, that they actually have her head, and they keep it as a power symbol, just like they keep the Mother Mary wrapped up in her red ropes and binding. They want to bind the power of the goddess and steal the empowerment, steal the energy. And again, these are part of the shackles that we're undoing as we go through this boot camp.
That's right.
Because as we remove it from ourselves, we heal other women and we heal the collective, to be able
That's
to move past these griefs and these losses.
absolutely. And just like, okay, we have to spend the time right now to do all this clearing, but future generations and us, should we choose to reincarnate in future generations, we want a better place. We are returning to the new earth, Lemuria. France has the skull supposedly of Mary Magdalene. So there's something of that, like this magic. Yeah, that they parade it during whatever the feast day of her in July. And it's like the crystal skull, you know, it's like an inversion. It's an inversion of the crystal skull, right? And so
wow, we just went 360 with that.
Yeah, right. Okay. These are the kinds of things that happen when like-mindeds, like Indy and I and all of you, get together. I'm sure you're all having your amazing awarenesses. Just a couple of more comments. The Ndebele people of South Africa, really cool. And yes, you know, look them up. I mean, the Navajo are said to be matriarchal. Right? If you really bore down into what it's all about, many, many cultures. From the zoo, the last oracle of Delphi, such weird synchronicities with these two and the random things I've been studying. Well, no, it's not random because you're like keying into what your soul is saying, look here. And then we all get together. This is fifth dimensional communication at work, right? So you're seemingly random research and then all of a sudden we're here together. No, this is part of how it's going. We are then becoming part of a soul collective, a mind collective, a positive hive. All right. And so synchronicity is the order of the day. And, you know, this wonder, it brings up a sense of wonder. Sheila's saying, I do feel that my low grade permanent grief is related to all this. Yeah. So, you know, Sheila, I think you may have already joined us, but hopefully you will, if not, for the Goddess Spirit Warrioress Bootcamp. Oh, Marie Antoinette was also ridiculed and targeted in that way. Yeah, you know, like there's so many stories that we don't know of these human women who are in positions of power. Throat anatomy is related to the shape of the womb. Absolutely. Yes, very much so.
One that really stands out to me is Queen Elizabeth I.
Yes.
She, I guess, dressed like the Virgin Mary, and she wore that collar around her neck.
Yeah, that choking. I mean,
and she maintained her virginity throughout her rule, so that way no man could dominate her. And it was how she had such a long reigning, you know, time as a monarch.
Oh my God, I'm getting all these codes just from
right now. Yeah, I loved the movie Elizabeth. Wow. You guys should watch it. It's really good.
Amazing. And Valerie is saying, like the Cathars, the last 200 walked into the flames. Yeah, one cannot imagine what that must have been like. I mean, unspeakable, right? And the grief that we have about that.
Yeah. Well, the thing too, when you're beheaded, I think what happens is the DMT gets cut off. So something, I don't know, it's some form of satanic ritual for like the afterlife processes that they're trying to prevent. And I think it's a harvesting of the soul.
That's right. That's right. You know, which again is why our human rituals to release these women into the light is important. We did that at Delphi, where we released Daphne, who had to shapeshift to get away from Apollo. She didn't want to be raped. And she turned herself into a tree, but it's like she got stuck there. So we did this ritual to release her from the tree at Delphi. So you can do these operations, these rituals, and so forth. Vanessa's saying it can never fully be stolen. No, it can't, which is why they just like to keep us in ignorance, because that's how they keep stealing everything. Yes, the Navajo, the Diné. Yes, agreed. They are matriarchal. Yes. Sioux is Lakota. Yes. Okay, great. So yeah, Christine, you got a lot of research going on there, which is fantastic. Wonderful. Let's just take a breath here, because we're kind of coming to our close for this, but we feel we've opened some more doors to many, many things, including, we hope, to you, to the Goddess Spirit Warrioress Bootcamp, February 1st through 4th, 2024. You don't have to come live for any or all of it. It will all be in replay, but we would love it if you would come live. Again, in the chat, I'm once again putting the link for registration, and it's in the show notes in case that chat doesn't end up showing up. Yes, we hope you will join us. This is giving you a taste of some of the excitement that's going to be generated that we don't even know exactly what's going to happen. I mean, we've set out our notes and our tools and our intentions and everything, but it's going to be multidimensional, how we're going to offer this and how you're going to experience it, you know, and this is for us all to get to the next level here and throw off some of this suffering energy so that we can really, really move much more into this authentic new earth energy without just doing a spiritual bypass, right?
Yes.
Indigo, any last thoughts on that?
I'm so excited. I cannot wait. I know how much magic comes from these shared sacred containers, and I'm just really looking forward to being able to fulfill my purpose and my mission, which is full-on dedication to supporting the divine feminine, supporting the goddess. I'm a Hydra starseed, so I incarnated to rectify the demonization and the oppression of the divine feminine. It's born into my consciousness, and from birth, like this was what I was supposed to do. So yeah, this is what I stand for. It's what I live for. And I just can't wait to share more and more. And I couldn't be more happy that I'm getting to do it with you, Marguerite. So I hope that everyone can come.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll see you guys on February 1st.
All right. All right. Blessed be. We will say goodbye for now. Many blessings. And may you have a beautiful rest of your day. Ciao.